realm of cutting edge technology and prepare to be captivated by the journey of a true visionary. Today, we have the privilege of speaking with Mr. Sameer Ranjan, an exceptional individual who wears many hats, each more impressive than the last one. As a Microsoft Most Valued Professional, Sameer's expertise in data science and generative AI has propelled him to be the forefront of innovation, with a remarkable repertoire that includes being an innovator, scholar, guest lecturer, social entrepreneur, data scientist, board member, and keynote speaker. Sameer's journey is a testament to the power of passion and dedication in transforming the language and landscape of technology. Now, a little bit about Aleph and what we do. We are called Aleph Cloud IT Consulting. And you can say, like, we are an extended arm for providing technical services to various partners. Um, Now, before we go ahead and I tell you the topic for today's webinar, let me present it in a story form. All right. So, with your permission, Sameer, I have included you in the story. Imagine this. In the fast paced world of healthcare, precision and efficiency are paramount. Picture Sameer Ranjan, armed with expertise in data science and generative AI, and a burning desire to make a difference in the industry. He collaborates with a leading hospital to optimize patient care pathways and reduce treatment delays, managing vast amount of patient data from medical records to treatment outcomes. Proves challenging for the hospital, as you see. The sheer volume hinders efficient personalized treatment plans as well. Now, Samir's team of data scientists and AI experts embark on a mission to revolutionize patient care by integrating all data into a unified and secure database, ensuring privacy and compliance. Leveraging data science, they design predictive models to analyze patient data and identify potential risk factors for treatment delays. But the true innovation comes with the implementation of generative AI. They develop a dynamic simulation model that generates personalized treatment scenarios for each patient. Isn't that fascinating? Running simulations, the AI system accurately anticipates complications or perhaps bottlenecks by factoring in patient history and symptoms. As the AI powered system integrates into the hospital's workflow, medical staff access real time insights and personalized recommendations, empowering well informed decisions. Patients experience reduced waiting times, improved outcomes, and increased trust in the healthcare system. Word of this groundbreaking solution spreads, captivating healthcare providers worldwide. Other hospitals seek Sameer's expertise to implement AI driven approaches, transforming patient care. Sameer's innovative solution shapes the future of healthcare with a vision of a data powered, patient centric landscape driving the industry forward, leading to a brighter and healthier tomorrow. Now, I would like to invite Sameer to say a few words before we kickstart this webinar.
Thank you so much, Uzma, for this warm introduction and a great story. Uh, I'm just glad to be part of your journey, and I hope I'll be able to add some value, some information to the listeners who will be listening it and the users who will be using your service. So yeah, let's start like with our plan. Let's call it a podcast, right?
All right, Sameer, let's begin. So, the first question that I have for you is like an icebreaker question. All right. What is your favorite example of generative AI that you have seen or used recently? And perhaps why did it impress you or, make you curious?
Right. Great question. So let me tell you about a little bit of business context. Most of the salespeople around the world, they need to write sales email, they need to send it to the person, and then they wait on getting the reply, and then write the reply based on the response. But there are a few new softwares which have came into the market, like Copy.ai or Luna, which basically it generates automated email, which you can just relay to your large user base, and based on the response, it can generate the response and then send it back. Basically, taking out huge amount of time from your sales journey, which is if we talk about the numbers, if you look at the dollar value, say email per a salesperson can send like let's say 20 email per hour and respond on it, right? And the salesperson costs you like let's say $30, $40 an hour, right? If you can remove that whole process and automate it, it not only just saves the time of that salesperson so that they can focus it more on selling the product, but it also gives you a huge huge revenue boost, which was not possible before this generative AI boom. So yeah, that's one of the applications which I have seen in recent past, and I loved it, and we are using it in our company also.
Well, that was new for me. I mean, having something which not just, reduces the manpower, but also makes sure that you are making more money. That's impressive. Actually, very impressive. And I'm sure the very hit of the numbers is something that makes you curious with this particular generative AI.
Correct. Yeah, like it's not so generative AI is like it's very new in the market, right? People still don't know how to use it and where they're using it, right? That's all the creative work. People are playing with the tool, right? But as and when we are seeing the approach in the industry, uh, it is a big boost to all the let's call all the chief revenue or finance officers because they can see the numbers getting changed. Now they are saving more money due to simple automations, but smart automations. It's not like I'm just fetching the data, but based on the data, I'm doing some action which machine is now guiding me. So it has been a huge boost in all the revenue number for approx all the companies which use any kind of mundane work which requires little to less intelligence.
That's interesting. And to be actually honest about this, generative AI is something which people are, getting interested into as of now. And I'm not talking about the technology audience or the crowd, general people who just know very basic things about technology. And I mean, they are mostly fascinated with, generative AI or AI generating images or pictures or something. But I mean, this is a game changer. I believe um, not everybody is still knowing about this, and definitely that's one of the reason why we are doing a webinar series like these. So I mean, what are your thoughts on the general crowd or the public getting to know about all of these things?
Right. So let me take you a decade back, right? AI was just a buzzword. People were using AI here and there, and nobody knew what AI could do, right? And I'll also say, like, before 2023 January, when the Chat GPT actually came into the play, nobody was talking about what AI can do, right? There was no investment in the AI market. Everybody was using some word like deep learning, machine learning. But now with the generative AI, now everything has moved to the AI system, right? People are talking about it. People want to know more about it. But the thing is, it's artificial intelligence, right? We are still not there yet where we call some system very artificial intelligence, right? Still, it's something which has learned on a data, and people are just getting a response without even they don't have to now read a 200-page book, but they just write a prompt and they get the response, right? Same is with the mid journey. Mid journey has blasted in the world, right? Why? Because now you can generate photos, right? Pictures. You don't
Hmm,
have to go and buy stock images, right? Which was a cost to various companies in past, right? But now they generate images based on the prompt and now use it for their campaign and everything. And these are the people who are not the technology crowd. These are the people who are mostly on the services or auxiliary services. They
hmm,
might be the
hmm.
marketing people, or they might be the podcaster who want to generate thumbnail of their YouTube videos, right? Or the
Right.
Instagram thumbnails, right? How they are able to do it due to all this generative AI. all the content creators who are there, they always search for new ideas, right? But they and
Absolutely.
their team has limitation because they can just think of what is around them, right? But if you have a system which can give you a knowledge of world, then
Hmm.
you can generate millions of ideas which you can act on, right? And that is why there is a huge boom in content creation industry also now, because people know what idea they need to go on, and they have like a source which can give them multiple ideas.
Hmm.
So that's how like the audience size is not the technologist. I don't think it is a huge lift for technologists, but I am
Hmm.
100% sure that the people who are outside of that diaspora, they are enjoying the benefits of generative AI in every way possible.
Well, I cannot agree with you more. Moving on, can you walk me through your approach to solving a data science problem, including the steps you take and the tools you utilize at each stage?
Correct. So data science, like whenever I look at data science problem, data science is always built up of three things, right? One is mathematical logic, one is business logic, and the third piece is computer science logic, right? So let's say I have to solve a problem which is, and data science is always about, usually about two things. One is either prediction, or second is classification, which means prediction is I want to predict something which is going to happen in the future, or I
Mm-hmm.
want to classify something into groups, which I am unable to do it with my naked eyes or the logical algorithm that I have, right? So what I tell to my resources, or whenever I get some data science problem, the best thing, the solution of the problem is in the problem statement. If you have to do the prediction, you know you will go to the prediction route. If you have to do
Hmm.
the classification, you will go to the classification route. And oftentimes business doesn't say the problem in the most linear manner that I want to predict the revenue. They will have some different problem, which might be I want to know the impact of sales on my marketing, or impact of marketing on my sales.
Hmm.
Right? These are the problem which businesses throws, right? Now it's your responsibility as a business leader to change every word into the technological concept, right? Which requires you to understand what you're going to do.
Correct.
Let's say you are very clear on whether you are going to do prediction or classification. Now you start on the secondary layer, whether you have that many data or not. How will you know about the data? You have to talk to the function experts, which is I might be doing something for sales department and I have never known what sales process is. I
Hmm.
won't be able to throw it anything to them. So you need someone who is functional leader who can tell you how sales actually work, right? What are the KPIs? What are the matrices? Once you get to know them, then you decide what kind of data you have and what kind of data you don't have. After that, there's a funneling system based on the data that you have. You can decide which way you want to go, into which prediction algorithm you want to do. Some, and this is just from my experience. I have seen 90% of the time
Hmm.
people want to apply data science into their framework, but they either don't have data or they don't have business use case, which is they might want to use data science, but their system might not allow them to use it because they don't require it. Right? As I told you, AI was a buzzword 10 years ago, right?
Hmm.
AI is a
Right.
buzzword right now also. Everybody wants to work in AI, but they don't understand AI takes time. It needs some due diligence to understand data and create scenarios inside your data modeling so that you can later use it for AI purposes. So if you are doing any AI project, it has to be like 3 to 4 year timeline where you collect the data, you label it properly, and then you mark it where you want to go. It's not easy to create the prompts, right?
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
is why, like for OpenAI, it took them like 8 years to reach where they are. They started in 2015. They were only able to launch it in 2023 or 2022, let's call it. So that's the timeline that people have to think on. Whenever I do data science project, I look at the data and then I try to find out what kind of variables are affecting my predictors. So to me, everything is like a maths problem, right? We all know about linear equation, which is y equal to mx plus c.
Hmm.
This is the basic maths which each and everyone learns in their standard 10, right? If you know the y, you always try to determine what y is because you always have x. But you need to find out when you have set of x, which all will give you a y, right? And AI is where you don't have to compute the value of M and C and the system computes it. So that's how you do your coding. That's how you do your programming.
Hmm.
And as I told earlier, like your solution to a business problem or a data science problem is in the problem statement itself. If you understand that problem clearly, you'll be able to break it down. And then there are like a
Can
lot of
imagine.
many tools, right? You might have to do data cleaning and you might have to do ETL process where you might use. Now, since we are talking about Microsoft
Hmm.
has like brilliant tools, which is Microsoft Data Factory is there, which is drag and drop tool to create your data pipeline, do all the ETL work, right? Then there are tools which you will run your script on, which might be your Python notebooks, right? You need to patch that in so that, and now it depends like what is prediction going to be on a front end software where people are going to look at it directly, or is it something a dashboard which a business is going to use to
Hmm.
look at number and predict or do whatever they want to do on those numbers. So depending on that, then you choose the tools. And again, when you choose the tool, again, it will all come down to the cost because training data set, training a model requires a cost to be thought of. And if everything fits into your budget, then only it becomes a true data science solution, whatever approach you're taking.
Oh, I think that was quite elaborate. But, I would like to touch upon one of the points you mentioned, two points actually. One being you said that people need to understand that they need to be patient with AI. Some of the tools or projects take 3 years or 4 years. And I could instantly connect it with the conversation I was having actually with one of my friend. So she works in the gaming industry where they create games and not mobile games, these big console and PC games. So, I was talking to her and she was saying one of the main reasons why games are delayed is because um, of artificial intelligence. The gaming industry is very much dependent on coding and obviously creating these characters or the games and everything. And the dependence is also fluctuating because of the advancements in AI. So maybe we need something specific for this game, but AI does not have that kind of an advancement. So she's like, one of the major reasons our games are delayed. There are games she was due to NOC, she couldn't disclose or tell the name of the game, but she said there's actually a game as of now, um, which is in progress in 7 years. Just because it's stuck somewhere and it has bugs around coding. So, what is your take on it? I mean, it's my
Right. So
experience, but still.
no, that's very true, right? I'll tell you something about healthcare industry, right? Let's say you want to diagnose a disease. For example, let's say we want to diagnose blood sugar level, right, in a person, right? And there are hundreds of methods to it. Like you take the blood and then you put a slide and then uh, with the microscope and you will do all the chemical process to do diagnose whether you have that blood sugar in your blood or not, like the sugar level is there or not, right? But let's say somebody wants to uh, assess whether you will have blood sugar ever, possibly based on your eye color, right? Now, there might be software in which you just take your picture and it will tell you how much probability you have whether you can get blood sugar or not. Right? Now, you will think like this is very absurd how it is possible, right? But let's say you had like uh, 10 eye picture and all of those 10 eye pictures had blood sugar, right? And then you took the 11th one, right? And it matches the description of 10 eye pictures that you have. And then you can say, okay, this almost look like this. So they might have blood sugar, right? Now instead of 10, make it 10 million, right? Now you have a large set of data, right? In which you say like all the people who have brown eyes and a little bit more bigger iris, they get like, they have like 80% chance everybody had blood sugar, right? To get that 10 million data set, right? And it's a bloody good software, right? Because you don't have to poke hole in your skin and take any blood out. With just your eye image, you can tell people whether they have blood sugar or not, right? But to train this system, you need 10 million users, actually their blood sugar level and the image of their eye. Is it possible to get? Maybe not, because you have to go to each person and get the image of their eye and get the data of their blood sugar level, right? And then you have to store it. Then you have to create a system which can read uh, which can convert the image into a number format which a system can read. Because all the algorithms are number, right? If everything is mathematical function, right? I cannot input a variable which is a photo because photo is not a number, right? I have to convert it into a form where it is a number. Then only my system can learn it, right? So this data collection, data cleaning, and then training the model for a longer time, right? Because you don't want to create a system which is biased, right? Because right now we are using generative AI for fun. Let's say we are going to use it for medical purposes, where you were giving an example of medical purposes, right? Like people might, the story that you told us, like that people might go and then there's a system which tells them, okay, this is your prescription, this is what medicine you have to take. But if it is trained on a very biased data, it can give a wrong output, right? And then it can be a life and death kind of a scenario, right? So to make sure that doesn't happen with AI, we we tend to train it on a huge number of data sets. We take enough time to understand how our algorithm is working, what are the loss functions are there, whether it is mathematically accurate or not,
or
and
not?
then only we launch the product. Like there are few industries where you don't need that kind of accuracy. But if the world is moving towards generative AI or AI,
Hmm.
we need a lot more data set. We need a lot more refining, which is, of course, it is coming. And then we need a lot of computation unit. Um, I'll just take a tangent, which is on quantum computing. It's a new system which is coming in the market. If it hits the market in next 5 years, we are going to find the new avenues of development which we haven't seen and
Hmm.
which we haven't even imagined yet. So that's what the power of data and AI is. Just it requires a lot of time to build that system.
Yeah, I smiled when you said quantum computing because I read a tweet or something by someone said if you felt AI is here to stay, wait till you know about quantum computing.
Correct. That's an entirely different domain, right? Like
Hmm.
I was watching a very interesting video by one of the YouTuber, and they say like if you have to understand quantum computing, think of mathematics as a playground.
Hmm.
And then the quantum computing is the areas that you even haven't thought of it. You haven't explored it yet. It's not in the playground. It
Hmm.
might be
Hmm.
100 feet below the earth, right? Which you don't know. Even mathematically, we don't know. So
True.
there is something which IBM is doing right now where they are trying to replicate minerals or the cells because it requires a lot of calculation and computation based on the quantum computing unit they have. So again, right now we don't have algorithm, we don't have things with which we can do something with quantum computing because the system is not ready yet. But maybe in 5 years we'll be seeing a newer world, which is much more advanced, which is much more safe in terms of healthcare. Because as you might have seen, the healthcare, the average age of people is increasing because we
Hmm.
have deployed a lot of technology in healthcare.
Hmm.
So that's where like a lot of things are happening. It's just like it's a slow cooked food, right? It will take time to reach at that place where we can say, okay, now we can have some real life application of technology.
Well, I would love to continue around the same lines, but I'll move on towards the next question and probably round up and come back. So, what are the main challenges or limitations associated with generative AI models, like GANs, for example, or VAEs, or transformers? And how do you address or mitigate them?
Correct. So when we talk about GAN or transformers, it's the algorithm that we are diving in, right? And there are a lot of things that we try to do. We try to look at the loss function, where how much information we are losing on each training and what kind of information we are getting. The biggest problem with AI, generative AI, that we have seen in the recent past is we have to create something that we call ethical layer. For example, I say this person is a bad person, right? And everybody upvote that tweet, upvote that response or the prompt, right? What will happen? System will start learning, okay, this person is a bad person, right? And
Hmm.
whenever you
Hmm.
will write like, okay, tell me the baddest person in the world, you'll get that person's name, right? Now that person might or might not be bad, right? There is no one who is going to counter check the response,
Hmm.
right? right?
Hmm.
So we might need to create systems which is like more on the ethical side, because there might be people who will, let's say, for example, let's say India has 1.3 billion people, right?
Right.
Everyone, every single person goes onto a system and marks that XYZ country is bad, right? Now, what will happen? Like it has got 1.4 billion response to the system, right? Which is a huge data
Hmm.
to skew the world parameter, right? And then
Right.
what will happen whenever you write like, okay, which is the baddest country, you get that XYZ. But is it a bad country? Do you have a layer which can say, okay, no, these are all the proxy or the trolls which is happening? Right? Same
Hmm.
is with the deep fake, right? Deep fake is something which is very much related to generative AI, right?
Hmm.
Now we are talking with like each other. Somebody can superimpose an image on our face, and the voice will be mine, but the face will look like someone else, right?
Someone else's.
Which
Yeah.
is which is a huge problem, because then there is no identity protection available, right? How you will know
Hmm.
that whether you're talking to a real person or not. Same is with the voice also. If
Hmm.
you have enough my voice on a digital print, you can train a model which will talk just like me. It will
Yeah. Yeah.
have annotation just like me. Now you won't be able to understand whether you're talking to a real me or an artificial me. Right?
Hmm.
So the problem is um, more more not so on the algorithm, but the way it is being coded. We need to have or add a layer on top of it, which is basically talking about the ethics of the system and
Hmm.
trying to prevent good and bad. Now, being
Right.
said that, every country has different good and bad, right? What is good
Of
for
course.
America might not be good for Russia, might not be good for China. What is good for China might not be good for anyone else, right? What is good for India might not be good for other people.
Hmm.
But who defines that? There is no central body. And can we create an ethical layer just based on the country? Will it serve any purpose? Those are the big questions that are there right now in the market and with the administrators of the world, because even they don't have answer to this system. You cannot uh, impose something on right to speech or freedom to express, but at the same time, how are you going to make sure that you're not expressing something which is very hurtful to a sentiment, religion, or a nation? So this is the problem with AI. AI can be controlled, but what control measure we have to put out there? This is the answer nobody has as of now.
Hmm. So probably we can consider AI as a child as of now in this stage, where information is being filled by the parent, the coder, and it has to be not very biased. It cannot be very black or white. It has to be gray so that it functions properly when the AI grows up. I don't know. I'm just metaphorically presenting it in front of you.
It's correct. It's correct. It's like a child who knows everything
Hmm.
but doesn't act on his own, right? It will
Hmm.
act on how people are reacting around that child,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So we need to find safeguards, maybe in the industry also, for which industry we might use, we might not use. But it's again, it's a very, very, very black box kind of a situation right now, because people are just coming up in terms with like they're trying to now understand AI, what AI is,
Hmm.
right? Uh, for most of the people around the world, it's like something magical heaven, right? So I didn't have to type anything. I just prompt and I got all the answer. But
Hmm.
how will you validate whether that answer was right or not?
Right.
That is the
Right.
problem and challenge that we are having. But I think with time and age, we will be able to move to a system which is more, it will have more citation, more reference points, so that you understand from where it has collected that data. So that you
Right.
know, oh, okay, this data was collected from a newspaper, so I might not believe everything in it. Or it was created from a research paper, which is peer reviewed. So I know this is like some truth is there, some degree of truth is there. So that kind of system might come into the future, but let's see.
So many people using ChatGPT as of now, but I guarantee not even, I mean, maybe half of them would be realizing and seeing that small line at the end when you type, it says ChatGPT may or may not have the right facts or the correct facts. It's very small. I'm sure you must have seen. It's a very small line, but it says that. So I think it pretty much sums up to what you're saying as of now.
Yeah, like that has been the problem, but I think like it's a time thing. Right now everybody is using it as a play toy,
Yeah.
and with maturity, I think it is going to change.
Improve, right? All right. So, moving on, how do you assess the quality and diversity of the outputs produced by your AI models? Also, could you share some of the metrics or techniques you employ with them?
Correct. So what we are using, like whenever we create algorithm, we try to incorporate as much diverse data as we can. For example, we work in something which is like personality prediction, so that you can have a better talent in your company and all those things, right? The problem is if I train my model on all Indians, right? Whenever a person who is from different ethnicity will give answer or anything to that, it won't be able to understand. The system won't be able to give the correct prediction because my data set is too biased towards Indian, right? So it might work very well in India, but it might not work in America. And same goes vice versa also. If I train on Americans, it might not work in India because every person has a different periscope the way they see the world, right? So that's what the biggest factor that we take in, like whatever data we are using, how diverse that data is. And second is the output, right? How the output is being. So we are trying to create systems which is human and machine interaction. It's not just machine, it's not just human. So we give human at least like this much ability to change the output that the system is giving, so that human also have a intervention point where we can say, oh, okay, this is not everything AI has done. This is somewhere the human was involved. But there was check and balance we have to create. Otherwise, it may go haywire. Like it might give me all the bad output. Right? There is something in data science that we call type 1 and type 2 error.
Hmm.
Right? And in the general world, it's a statistic term, right? Type 1, type 2 error. Type 1 error is something which is still plausible. Like we don't care that much about it. But type 2 is the most
Okay.
dangerous one, right? Which means that something was happening, but system reported it's okay, nothing is happening. For example, you might have cancer, and my algorithm says, oh, you don't have cancer, right? Which is very different. Like for example, the other way around is you don't have cancer, but system says you have cancer, right?
Hmm.
You'll still
Hmm.
get a second opinion, you'll get a check, you'll get a degree of check, and you'll know okay whether you have it or not. But let's say system says you don't have cancer at all. Right? You'll be very happy, oh, I don't have cancer, right? But in reality, you had cancer, which is the time lost because of the system, because system says system was biased or it had like type 2 error which says that okay, you didn't have cancer. So those kind of system which can be applied to any defense mechanism, right? Enemies are coming, it says enemy is not coming, right?
Not
You
coming.
are in danger, right? It might be there is system failure, there might be data leakage in your system, and the algorithm says there is no data leakage. Same with cyber security. It says that oh, you don't have any malware attack, but you might have all the malware attack,
Hmm.
right? So these kind of systems, we try to reduce the type 2 errors to a significant level so that we understand that in our classification there is no problem at all, because it might be a matter of life and death, it might be a matter of career, it might be a matter of security of the company or nation, or it might be a money matter, right? Everywhere we try to prevent the type 2 errors, and that's what like our major focus is. And any data scientist around the world works just to make sure that there is like less type 2 error than the type 1 error.
That is pretty scary, Samir. Type 2 error is pretty scary.
It
Well,
is, but that's the payback that you get of using the technology, right? And you cannot say that oh, I'm not going to use technology, because with that many people in the world, you won't be able to service them manually. Right? You need a system which is way more efficient and way more faster. That is why you might have seen all the new computation unit coming in, new algorithm coming in.
hmm,
That's the only reason, because everybody is trying to reduce that error that we have. So that's how like that's how we check whether the system is working correctly or not.
well, again, I'm making a star on that note. If we have time, we'll definitely come back to this later. Very interesting, actually. Um, okay, so you pretty much spoke about the next question I'm about to ask you, but I'll still break it up for you. It's about the ethic code you were talking about. So, you know, Ensuring ethical, fair, and responsible use of AI models is crucial, as you mentioned. But how do you make certain that your generative AI models meet these standards? Like, if you could give us a specific example or a specific situation or a scenario which has happened. Also, are there specific risks or pitfalls you are mindful when applying? Like, personally, specific pitfalls that you take care of?
Right. So we tried like we are creating our own prompt-based analytics system. The problem is people might type anything and system might give anything because system is trained on large set of data, right? For example, I typed very something which is very racist, right? My system should understand based on the prompt that this is racist, this is negative emotion. I should not give any answer. I should give a very generic answer that change your prompt or write anything else, or I won't be able to give you answer on that. Which
Hmm.
is just the thing that ChatGPT has also integrated. The initial version of ChatGPT when it came, if you will type anything, it will give all the information, right? Now people had problem with that because it was giving some racist information, some sexist information, right?
Okay.
So now they added a layer which is based on your prompt. It will understand whether that has positive emotion or negative emotion to the system. Once it understands the positive and negative emotion, based on that, it gives you a response. Let's say you ask something like, "How I can create an atomic bomb," right?
Hmm.
Now,
Hmm.
system will understand that this is not something which I should give answer to. So
Hmm.
it will give you a very generic answer that, oh, you should not do
Hmm.
this, or it will give you a very mathematical answer that this is not possible in the liberty of your home, right?
Home.
Because now information is available to anyone, right? So that's how we create like various kind of scenarios in our own prompt when we are creating the algorithm that based on these prompts or this system or these words don't give any response. Now the
Hmm.
second thing is the pitfalls. Again, as I said, like there might be some error or there might be some uh, information loss in the algorithm, which will
Hmm.
basically sometimes make the system bypass all the keywords that you have put in. So we try to come up with an algorithm which will bypass those misinformation, right?
Okay.
So AI and this chat GPT thing or any generative AI which is there in the market, it's a constant development procedure, right? You cannot develop one time and then just feed the data and be happy about it. It doesn't work like that. You have to constantly develop. You have to constantly find new loopholes into your own system and then again fix it up because you'll fix one thing, there might be like 500 different ways to bypass your system. So
Hmm.
you have to think on all those 500 different ways that you can incorporate in your system so that nobody is able to break it up. And that's what like the biggest challenge right now with the generative AI market is how do you stop uh, someone from doing that? As I told you about deep fake, right? Deep fake is very common. How do you stop it?
Hmm.
People are trying to add to the system that where it reads where you are going to implant that face picture on it, right? Because you never know like whether that face or that picture or that voice is being used for a good purpose or a bad purpose.
Hmm.
Now we are trying to create an algorithm which can read your where you're going to paste that picture or voice in, right?
Hmm.
And then based on that, give the output. If we know that you're going to paste it on something which is obscene or awful, the system is not going to generate the picture. But again, it's a very long road to travel. There are
Hmm.
various companies who are working on this thing so that they can create a safer internet, as to say.
You know, combining what you said previously before this, the answer that you gave, and as of now, positive, negative emotion, and the type 2 error, right? That's what you
Yeah.
said. So let's say, um, can we try shooting two birds with the same stone? For example, if we try to solve the problem of AI understanding positive and negative comments or prompts, that will automatically result in very few or less chances of the type 2 error happening. So, does this mean that if AI becomes strong enough to recognize emotions of, I mean, replicating is another thing, but recognize emotions and then act on the basis of it? So, do you think the type 2 error could be less looked
Yeah,
at?
Type 2 is very much on the training data set, right? How you train your system, that is where you get the type 2 error. And then on prediction, it might amplify, right? The problem with the system is you still don't know the source. Like where, for example, let's say I wanted to get a picture of a person, right? And somebody has created a system by which I can extract the face image and I can 3D render it, right? Which means you just give me this half picture and I'll be able to make the complete face out of it, right? In a 3D capacity from each and every angle. Now I have that system, and now I took that face and post it anywhere, right? You don't have control on where I am posting it, right? Where I'm using it. I might use it to do some vindictive speech, right? I take one political leader's face and then put it onto someone else's face, and then the whole speech is in like vindictive narration, right? These are like 10 different softwares which I have used, right? Can the software talk to each other? No, because nobody is going to share their IP with each other or their information portal with each other. So I won't be able to control this system, right? Where I use the deep fake, like I created an image and imposed it on someone else, right? And then took that someone else's body and put it into third system, which will make them talk like one person, right? So there are like a lot of components which people have individually developed, and if matched together, they can become a huge potential of earning, also earning good money. It can become a huge potential of downfall of a society also. So it depends just on like people might have to have a security layer, a system where people are okay. So that's what like my next point will be like cyber security and cyber governance on the AI governance is going to be the biggest thing and biggest problem for the next decade or two, because they need to come up with a regulation. They might need to come up with a system where people are very sure, like with what you're going to use, that image that you have generated. They might have to track who has generated that image. So those things will come into the play as and when we'll mature with the system that we have. Right now, it's a very playful system. For next like couple of years, nobody is going to make any more negative impact with it the way they have already done it. It would be around same reason, but then the governments will have to come together, think of an idea, bring the IT leaders onto the table so that they can discuss like what's happening in the market, right, and
Hmm.
what are the all the bad things that can happen, and then create the law. So it's just like walk back to the origin and then find out what all problems that it can generate. So that is for sure, which is going to happen in
Fair
next
enough.
couple of years.
All right. Well, thank you so much for answering that. Moving on, staying up to date with the latest development and trends in data science and perhaps generative AI is vital, as we know. What are some of the resources or communities you follow or actively engage in?
Correct. So there are like a lot of blog posts by OpenAI. Like they, if you go to look at their resources, and there are a lot of Discord servers where you can find a lot of information. I try to I try to stick to the more on the research paper side because that is more detailed, more information containing, rather than the informal, let's say, Medium or LinkedIn post. I'm not saying that they are not helpful, but there is no governance on the information which is there, right? It might be someone's very personal experience to it, but when you go to a research paper route, you'll understand, okay, that's how they made the system. That's why AI cannot ever overcome human, right? Can AI become sentient? Uh, might be in like 100 years, right? If somebody comes and do a good kind of a coding, uh, it is possible. But right now, can it become sentient? AI doesn't have its brain, right? I might tomorrow I might go and fly to Cancun and sit there, right? And I won't talk to anyone. I'll erase my whole digital footprint. AI won't be able to copy me, right? Because AI needs a data feed. If I don't give data feed, it won't work, right? So those kind of things are there, which you will only understand if you have a little bit understanding of how it was created, and that's what I do. I tend to stick to research paper. I tend to stick to all the new companies who are coming up with new products because they often try to tell everyone that what they are trying to do and what their proposition is. And that gives us a good idea of where the market is moving, where the world is moving, and where our
Right.
consumers are. So that's what I do.
I think you answered that pretty clearly. Um, all right. So, could you also share some of the most noteworthy or impactful applications of data science or generative AI that you have been involved in or come across in your field?
Right. So something that I have seen predictive analytics being used um, in like huge capacity is like hospitals. They are using predictive analytics, which is like let's call it a machine learning and a layer of prediction. So that's where they are using like in healthcare, where they are doing the booking system of whether the patient will come or not, their insurance claims. Those have been like car insurance, health insurance. They have used like prediction algorithm to their best capacity. And now we are seeing a good application into marketing, into sales, where people are generating marketing concept, they're generating materials, and they're publishing it on Instagram Shorts or YouTube Shorts, like most of the. And then there are bots like which will give you the views, and there is AdWord which can tell you, which can give you prediction whether this video is going to get viral or not. There are a lot of places where AI is being used, and which tells us that world is moving towards a better technical framework because this is very my belief. Like if we invest in healthcare technology, people life will improve and they will have a longer life expectancy, which means let's say somebody used to work till 60, right? Now they're working till 65, 70, right? Why? Because they can work. Their body is supporting them. They're naturally healthy, right? So that gives like people a little bit more edge than the people who were older than us because they were not able to sustain a longer life cycle because of the pollution and a lot of other changes, right? And the diseases which were there, which was incurable, right? Nobody would have thought that COVID vaccines will be able to make it in like 2 years and distribute it around 7.2 billion people around the world, right? It was possible just because of that technology, right? And as I was saying, with quantum computing, if we have some system like that, we might be able to predict the disease and the cure at the same time. So, a lot of things which will come with the technology in next decade or so, and that's what makes me happy because I think we are going to improve the life of human just
Hmm.
by deploying technology in the right sectors. And you
Hmm.
start with healthcare as the biggest one.
All right. Uh, all right. So going ahead, I believe, and I'm sure even you would, that maintaining a balance between exploration and exploitation is important, especially in fields like data science and generative AI projects. So, how do you decide when to experiment with a new idea or techniques versus sticking or establishing methods that have proven to be effective?
Right. I'll give you like two-way answer, right? One in terms of researcher and one in terms of business owner, right? When you're a business owner, business is always run on like how much profit you are getting, how much money you are getting, how much money that is getting out. For example, I want to do something which can be done with the traditional method. I'll first apply the traditional method and then I'll go and explore what all different things I can do to optimize my process, right? And that's what the approach should be for any company. You cannot start with, for example, let's say I'm going to make the best predictor in the world, and then you have to wait 10 years to get the data and 20 years to get the technology, right? So we start with like with the whatever the technology exists as of now or something that has worked till now, and then we identify the parts in which we can go and explore the new options. There might be few things which is we are doing the linear prediction, but now there are new algorithms which can predict it with less variable, less data, right? So we'll go and deploy those methods. So it's always like create a framework and architecture based on already work technology, and then find the small components and change it till you have changed each and every part of your technology, and it looks like okay, this is cutting edge and the technology of next generation. That's what we basically try to do and deploy all of our projects like that.
Perfect. All right. So, in your opinion, what essential skills or competencies should a successful data scientist or generative AI practitioner possess? And how do you go about developing and enhancing these skills?
Correct. These are not something that you can learn from Coursera or Udemy or any online course material which is available, right? It requires specialized
Absolutely.
knowledge. So
Hmm.
it is not like you will do a certification for 2 months and then you can call yourself data scientist. And I have seen like multiple reels about this. It might have worked for one or two people, but it won't work for masses. Now, second thing is if you want to be into this profession, you need to have a very strong background on statistics, very strong background on data, and
Hmm.
third is very strong background on computer science. Because data science and generative AI or any kind of AI which is out
Hmm.
there, it requires you to code. If you are unable to code it out, you won't be able to solve anything.
Hmm.
And then along the way, learn the business function, business process. Because whatever you are trying to do, everything is attached to a business. And
Hmm.
you can only understand that problem as much as you understand the business. So these are the things, and how you enhance it, you have to keep up with the technology. The problem that we have seen in last half a decade is the half-life of a skill has changed. Or my parent has done only one job in their entire career for 30 years, 35 years, right? But for us, it has changed. So
Changed.
people who are doing core engineering, core mechanical, electrical engineering, they might do for 3, 4 years, then they jump to do something MS in IT or ITS or IT management system, and they jump onto IT management for next 5 years, 6 years. Then they do their MBA to go into more specialized domain, or they
Hmm.
do
Hmm.
PhD to get very specialized in their domain, and then they carry out for like another couple of years or like 5 years or 10 years. Then they again have to step up.
Change.
Why this has been
Step
the
up.
problem? Because technology is changing every day. People are innovating, people are creating new stuff, and if you cannot stick with the older method, because that won't work. And when
Hmm.
I say it won't work, it won't work in terms of time and resources. If you have
Right.
a system which is cheaper and it can get your things done much faster, you have to move there. And to know that system, you need to have your basis strong, and then keep continue learning on. Uh, Maybe you might have to do another masters or second masters or third masters so that you actually understand that system.
Well, I would like to add on to something that you just said here. You mentioned about our father or our mother and their generation wanting to do, a job for a set period of time. So I was just having a conversation with our CTO actually, Mr. Farhan Gudsi, and he was telling us about the three types of generation which have been found till date with respect to employees and work. So generation one was a very roti kapda makan mindset that okay, I want to work to feed my family, to feed myself. Then the generation two, probably our parents were like, okay, education is very, very important. If you do education, if you get education, you get very good jobs, and definitely the respect and everything that comes along with it. But you have to stick to it. Otherwise, finding jobs is very difficult. And then the generation three, probably our generation, wherein we want to, we're not satisfied with just one thing. We obviously want to completely and again upgrade ourselves, but we are also very skill driven. That all right, if I have these skills, I want to utilize it here. um, I was just having a conversation with my friend actually some other time, and she was saying that I want to quit a particular company because I feel I have learned whatever I could have learned from there and then go ahead. So this is the generation that we are having right now, and I would love to see the generation 4 that comes up. Yeah.
Right. That's the gig economy, right? Like that's what I say to people. Like there will be a time where you won't have one job. You will
Hmm.
have multiple jobs. You might be a musician at night and data scientist in the morning. And there will be a world where it might be
It's,
possible. So
sounds like you're talking about a youngster in New York City.
Yeah, yeah,
driving a taxi and being
right.
a barista.
Yeah. That's possible, and that's where we are headed. And I think
And
like that's a beautiful world because
yeah,
people are
yeah.
happy there.
I guess perhaps the limitations our generation is having when we were probably just, we graduated out of college was that no, I don't want to work in a coffee shop. But again, I have a niece who's just done with her 12th, and she's like, I'm open to working in a coffee shop. So I think probably the new visionary or the mindset that the generation 4 will be bringing to our world, definitely. Yeah. Great. So, moving on, how do you envision the role of generative AI in creating new forms of data and knowledge in the future? And what are some of the ethical and technical, sorry, you already mentioned ethical challenges. So, I would say technical challenges that might arise from this.
Right. So people have been using generative AI to create a lot of test data, a lot of systems, a lot of system engineering components by which they can create new algorithms, new products, new services into the line. The technical challenge that I see is, um, again, I'll go back to my point. There is no way to validate whether that data set is correct or not, right? But if I leave that topic, then the biggest technical challenge will be whether you have that competency to create that services or the technology services that you want to create or technology that you want to create, you have that technical competency or not. And that's where I have found a huge gap. The In the last 5 6 years, which I've seen the new talent coming up, there's a huge gap in the knowledge that they contain and the practicality of the application, right? Because they might have the best degree in the world, right? But still they might not have enough knowledge to do the application because technology changed much quicker than the education system could. So there's a huge gap there, right? And that's where the problem is. People want to create new system, but now they don't have resources who can create those systems for them, right? So it's a more technical functional challenge because there are things that needs to be done, but there is no one who can do it. And whether the generative AI, like it's generating new resources and new data set, new data point, you're training your system on it. But the correctness of the system, again, now since you don't have technical ability to understand the system, you're unable to understand whether it's correct or not. So it's a multifold problem where you need to solve something on the education sector as well as the approach you are taking to the modernity of the solution. So that's where people need to find balance, and that's where people need to take a call whether I am going to use the solution generated by ChatGPT or not to
Hmm.
do the technical advancement. So that's where like the technical leader comes into the picture that they should have enough experience to understand. Okay, this is right and this is wrong. So that's what will be the biggest challenge, and which is the
All
biggest
right.
challenge right now.
Absolutely. Okay, so the last question for this very, very interesting webinar. Um, it's again a futuristic question. So, um, do you think in future we would be able to mitigate or overcome the limitations of data science and generative AI, the ones that you mentioned, but in terms of scalability, reliability, and interpretability? And if so, how do you think this could happen in future?
Right. So I'll tell you about a product that we are working on. It's a consulting that we are doing for a company. It's basically kids, right? So they have created a system by which any shopkeeper in the world can upload their data into a system, and system will give them prediction on inventory and how many customers are going to come, how many resources they need to hire to run their company. So we are taking system to the market, which is like more bigger, more advanced, and which has never seen the technology in its place, right? Shopkeepers have used for a very long time something they call ledger, which is on which they write with pen and paper, right? Now we are taking that digital, right? So it's a new world that we are trying to make with the help of data and data science. And now then they will generate the data on which we can do some certain new things. which we might not have addressed till now, right? So that is one thing which is happening. Interpretability of data science is something which has been in debate for a very long time because people don't understand how prediction is happening, right? They don't understand type 1, type 2 error, right? But
Hmm.
with the time, we are trying to change the algorithmic structure of the solution so that they don't even have to ask this question, right?
Okay.
I'm not saying
Right.
system
Right.
is going to predict 100% everything right. We are trying to create which is a human and AI system. There is always a human attached to that AI so that that can tame where that AI is going, right? It's like a guided light. Call it like supporters of your bicycle, right? So it
Right.
knows that you
Right.
are not going to fall down.
Hmm.
So that's what we are trying to, that's what like everybody is trying to do. Even being it like a super car like Tesla, where like you don't have to have a driver and it will run for you. But again, Tesla gives that option that if you want to drive, you can drive manually
Drive
also,
it.
right? So that's what the correct human and AI intersection is, and that's what like everybody is trying to do and make possible that things are scalable and things are trustworthy. More than understanding, they need to trust the system, and that's how we are making people trust the system by involving people in the algorithm and technology.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Samir. That was the last question. Thank you so much. Um, I don't think I have any other follow-up question as of now, but would you like to say something or conclude by saying something, or perhaps a quote or a question to think upon?
Right. So again, like I'll just take line from what I said right now. Like we will need a system in future where we can decide what is right and what is wrong for everyone. Or we need to think like, is it going to be right and wrong divided by geography, divided by religion, divided by creed? What are we going to do? That is the biggest problem that AI will create in the future, and people need to think on those things. Otherwise, we are looking at a world which is very much biased, which is eager to get doomed, and there will be no one saving from that possible scenario because there
Hmm.
won't be a false if mechanism. So with that, I'll end the system. But I know, like, I'm very hopeful of the AI future because I know I have worked in it for a long time, and this is going to change the world for real good. And it just requires good leaders who can understand what AI can do and what AI cannot do. That will decide the fate of where this world will go for next decade or so.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, maybe this advancement takes time, but I'm sure after listening to this webinar, uh, some of our audience would love to go and learn AI and know more about these things. So thank you so much again, Samir, for this amazing, amazing and interesting discussion that we had. I wasn't even, bored for 1 second. There were a lot of things I learned, and many questions were answered. So thank you so much. I would like to thank our audience as well for listening and being with us throughout this entire webinar. Please stay tuned. We're going to come up with more MVPs and much more fascinating topics and greater people to meet, just like Samir. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.